Good morning and welcome to Tuesday Tips, Cut the Gibberish. Come on in. I am so excited that you're here. If you're joining me live, please do say hello in the comments and let me know where you're coming in from. I'd love to hear from you. If you're watching this later, please do use hashtag replay to let me know that you're watching this at a later time. Today we're going to talk about worry. Oh my goodness, that's a big one for a lot of us, right? But I want to share a little something with you first. This past weekend, my daughter had a dance training to attend, and I wasn't allowed to go in with her. It's something she had to do on her own, which was fine. However, I sat and waited for her and etc. Well, on Sunday, when everything was all over and said and done, the car wouldn't start for us to leave to come home. So guess what? A worry set in, right? It was just a minor issue. The lights had been left on or something. So it was something that was easily taken care of. However, we still couldn't start the car to come home. So my worry just automatically started, right? Like, okay, what are we going to do? My husband was at church. I said, well, we're going to have to wait till he gets done. Maybe he can come jump us off or somebody, whatever. All the things started going, all the gibberish started going through my head of how I'm going to solve this problem that I have, because I need to get the car started so we can come home, right? So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. How, when you're in a situation such as that, how worry just kind of takes over. Because that's exactly what happened to me this past weekend. Worry definitely took over because I didn't know what we were going to do. How were we going to get the car started and actually get to come home? So, long story short, yes, we got this car started. My husband came and jumped us off. So the car would start. And like I said, it was a minor issue. The lights were left on, so the battery went dead. So no worries, no big deal. However, I didn't know that in the very beginning, right? When we got back in the car and the car would not start, I had no idea what was wrong. So all the gibberish started. Like, what are we going to do? How are we going to get home? My husband was somewhere else at the time. I did send him a text and say, the car won't start. We can't come home, right? So he called as soon as he could, and we figured it out, right? Okay, so do you worry? Today's topic is worry, so we're going to talk about that for a few minutes, okay? I know that worrying is sometimes how we were taught or how we were raised, right? Or so we think. We might have had a mother or a father or a grandparent or someone who was active in our life that was a worrier, right? Like I said, I'm a worrier myself in some situations, not in every situation, but in some situations. And this past weekend was one of them. My car wouldn't start. And we needed to get home, right? So, like I said, I am a worrier sometimes in some situations, but when you think about it, a worry, it sometimes makes you smart, because if you look around at all the possibilities and all the things that are going to happen, you automatically start trying to solve them, right? Just like I did this past weekend. I started going through my head, all the things. How can I solve this issue? We need to get home. How can I get this car running, right? So you automatically start thinking of solutions of how you can solve the issue at hand or the issue that you're worried about, right? So you want to be more prepared, okay? Because what I have found is actually the opposite. Let me explain that. But first, before I get to that, do you identify as a worrier? Because I hear people say, oh, I'm just a worrier. That is just what I do. My mother was a worrier, worry, right? you know what is happening when you make statements like that? You're just reinforcing the behavior of worrying, right? That's the behavior, right? One of the things that struck me, and I'm going to say this more than once, and I'm going to say it slowly because I found it very interesting. Worry is a prayer for what you don't want. Worry is a prayer for what you don't want. Because we know that when we focus on what we do want, we are sending a message, right? To the universe, to God, whoever you believe in, okay? And if you follow that pattern of prayer, you're actually praying or bringing it into existence. Okay? So I'd love to hear what you think about that. If you're a worrier, for sure, if you're a worrier, if you think that it's a prayer what you don't want. I didn't want my car not to start, but that was the issue I had at that given moment. It was time for us to come home, but yet my car wouldn't start. So I started worrying. I started trying to figure out how I can solve this problem. What am I going to do to solve this problem so we can get the car started and come home, right? So if this is you, I want you to think about this. When we are worried, our brain is locked because we're in fear. And what happens is we are not able to actually problem solve because the fear locks our brain. The what ifs locks our brain. The gibberish, right? All the things that's going on in our brain, it locks down. Okay? So let me give you an example. Well, I gave you an example earlier about this past weekend, when the car wouldn't start. Let me give you another example. My daughter's safety. Okay? This is where I practice this the most because she is driving now, right? She's 16 and she drives. She drives to school every day and back home every afternoon or to wherever. She drives herself to dance classes every week. She drives herself to church sometimes. So she is driving different places, right? So she's on the road alone for X amount of time. When she's going to school, coming home, going to dance, going to church, wherever it is she's going, she is on the road alone for X amount of time. And sometimes it's at night. And it's not my favorite thing to have this young girl, my daughter, on the road in rural and in busy areas, because some of the places she drives is rural, but some of the places are also busy. So what happens sometimes is my brain will start to race. And so how I handle that is I'll get her on the phone and I'll remind her of something, a rule, etc. Because we do have specific rules she has to follow when she's driving, right? And I'll just say, you know what? I know you know this and you've done this a million times. There's some things I just have to say out loud, so I can stop thinking about it, okay? And she understands. She knows what I'm talking about. And I'll list them for her. If something happens with your car, do not get out of the car. Lock your doors and call me. Because then I can figure it out. No matter what it is, I can call the local police. I can drive there if it's not too far. I can do a million different things to solve whatever that issue or that problem is that she's having at that moment. If the car won't start again, she drives that same car. We share a car, okay? So when she's out driving alone, she's driving that exact same car that we just had issues with this past weekend, okay? But the lights were left on, so that was a minor issue. So I go through and I don't try to scare her. I just try to remind her. If you get in an accident, stay in the car until the police come. Because there's a lot of stuff out there that could be an unsafe situation, especially for a 16-year-old girl, right? And I want her to be protected. And then I let it go. Because what I have found was I started to run through these scenarios in my head, and I would think to myself, do not do that. So what I do instead, I would imagine her with her music on, both hands on the wheel, driving down the road. Maybe singing a song and paying attention to the road, right? Being the responsible human that she is and safely driving into the driveway. That helps me as a mother, right? Bring into existence her safety. Because like I said, there's a million different things that can happen when she's out there on the road by herself, right? So what I'm doing when I do that is I'm sending energy to the God, the universe, whoever you believe in, that everything is good. That everything is always good until it's not. I don't know if that makes sense to you or not. Whatever it is, you can handle it. And we have resources, and we have friends, and we have all the things, right? It's just the truth. But I do know that when you want to manifest a change in your life, whether it's a goal, relationship, whatever it is, by turning the worry into a prayer for what you want, it's going to be much more important and come out to a better result in the end, more of a result that you'll be happy with, right? Now, I do mean that, it makes it much more effective, right? Because sometimes this is difficult. I'm not going to lie, be honest here. It is a difficult thing, but be strong and be smart. And with the correct effort, you can do that too. Because I know some of you out there may have teenage drivers also out there on the road, just like I do. And as parents, it just comes natural to worry about them when they're out there driving by themselves. So if you want to implement my habit, you are welcome to do so and see if that helps with your worrying. Thank you. This was Tuesday Tips and Cut the Gibberish. We will be back again next Tuesday at 9 a.m.